So the big question is this: how do pastors like us who remain focused on the mission of Jesus and serving our communities without being distracted by everything in the world around us, how do we increase our effectiveness while living a lifestyle that doesn't compromise our health, our families, or our personal relationships with Jesus? That's the question this podcast is going to answer. I'm Dr. Brandon Party Cooper, and welcome to the Ministry Hackers Podcast. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Ministry Hackers Podcast. Such a wonderful day. I hope things are going well for you, wherever it is you are watching or listening. Today is our author focus, and we have with us Mary Stegmiller. She is the author of Life Lessons from King David and Grandma. So, Mary, how are you doing? And welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Brandon. I'm doing well today, and thank you for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited to have you. So your book, Life Lessons from King David and Grandma. First, before we get into the book, how did you come up with the title of the book?
Well, it was supposed to be all about King David, and I was going to talk about his grandmas, which I did in there. And then I was encouraged I was asked, they like the stories, people, my beta readers and some coaches I had, and they said, but what do the stories mean to you? And I thought, I didn't want to write about me. It was supposed to be his grandmas.
Right.
But me being a grandma, I added my stories, and both my coach and my beta reader said, oh, that's much better.
Well, it's good. That's good. So just give a brief overview of what the book is about.
It's mostly taken from King David's life in 1 Samuel. And actually, I start with my imagination, what it was like for him being a little boy growing up in a family where he's the 8th son and has 2 older sisters and nephews all running around. And I got a clue from a couple places. One, his father left him out of taking him to see Samuel. Mm-hmm. When he was told by Samuel to bring all your sons, he left David out. And in one of the scriptures, it translated as, well, he's the runt, or he's the least. Mm-hmm. The non-important one, that's the way his father looked at him.
Right.
And Eliab, his oldest brother, the oldest brother had special place in the family. And the day that he was going to kill Goliath, his older brother said, well, you're insolent and you should be home watching your few sheep. You got an evil heart. And I thought, wow. But David, the clue I found that I wanted to share with people is David didn't look at himself through those negative incidences. He looked at himself through God's eyes.
That's right.
So God could use him. And it's to encourage people to not look at themselves through their family or friends, what they're saying about them, but look at themselves through God's eyes also. Mm-hmm. And when my coach and my beta readers encouraged me or twisted my arm, I shared also what it did in my life to stop looking at myself through other people's eyes, problems it caused, and solutions were looking at it like David did through God's eyes.
That's interesting. So a book that you intended to be more of a study on the life of David became a pretty personal book for you, correct?
Yes, it did.
So now, how was that easy for you to do, to kind of throw in your own thoughts and life and stories into that, or was that difficult to do?
Oh, it was very difficult.
Yeah.
I was divorced, and I am a member of a church and try to be active, but I know there are people that I felt people look down at me because I was divorced. I got married very young, right out of high school. In fact, I hadn't finished my last semester. And I always felt as a failure of that. And those were things I wanted to hide, I guess, under a rock. I didn't want to brag about them. But just in this last few years, I started doing what I was talking about. And I looked at myself through God's eyes, and God not only loved me the way I was, He loved me.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to love myself. That's part of my history. And it's something I wanted to share with people so they could learn from my mistakes,
Right.
and they could learn from also David's and my successes.
Right. Now in the book, you structure it interestingly. So in the book you have David's story, and then you follow that up with your story and kind of the parallel or the application. And then you have a poem and then a list of study questions. So throughout the book, you have all this poetry. Is that your own poetry or did you pull that from somewhere else?
That is my own poetry. I had not shared that with anybody. My husband and I have been married over 30 years, and he had not seen any of those poems.
Really?
They were very personal. But I guess one of my pet peeves, as you might say, is when I've been in Bible study groups and there's a book and then there's the question book. And I thought, why don't I just put the questions in the book and people don't
Right.
have to buy two?
Right. Yes. Yeah, and they're great questions. One of the things that struck me as you were going through, as I was reading through the poems and just seeing the two stories side by side was just David himself was a poet. He, wrote many songs and many poems, and so you're taking his story and you're adding your story to it, and you're taking your poetry and kind of adding it side by side. So, do you feel, having done all the study and the research that you did for the book and then writing it, do you feel a close connection with David, and has that always been the case, or did you feel that more as you were writing?
I always felt a close connection with David, and I don't know why, but I always did. And maybe because the Bible shares so much of his humanness,
Right.
it not only his conquering and his winning, but his mistakes, they're in there too. And yes, I loved reading these Psalms, and I found a lot of wisdom there, and compassion, and how open he was with his feelings.
Right. What did you hope, when somebody sits down and they read your book, what was the hope that they would walk away with when they finished?
That the stories in the Bible, they would see them, that especially David's story, it isn't something 3,000 years ago. It's the same things we deal with today.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't always liked by his family.
Right.
He had two grandmothers that were not Hebrew. He might have been kind of considered biracial, or
Mm-hmm.
a family history of biracial marriages. And when it talks about Ruth, it talks about, she was a Moabite, definitely not Hebrew. When she came, it said she went and gleaned the fields alone. It tells me the women in the town did not run to meet her and say, oh, here, come with us.
Right.
It was like, you're different, we're staying away.
Right. Right. What was maybe the most challenging or difficult part of the book to write?
I guess that was when I had to try to start sharing me and some of my own mistakes.
Right.
And the poetry. And it got so, if I wrote something about David, and my beta readers would say, now where's your story? Sometimes I tried to skip it.
Slide it past them.
Yeah, it didn't work.
It's good to have accountability then.
Yes.
um, so then what was your favorite part of writing the book?
I guess uh, writing about what I saw as Bathsheba, what I thought might have started, how he would have even seen her growing up as a little girl,
Mm,
and and I don't know. I really enjoyed bringing that part of the story in.
yeah.
I saw that her father had been one of his 30 mighty men,
Oh, really?
and I thought, oh, he always saw her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Because one of the things I do like about the book is, I like how it's a great account of David's life. It's, obviously we can read through scripture and we can pull piece the narratives from the various books together and kind of see David's life unfold. But what I like about, you know, having it in one place in your book is that not only am I getting the story in a continuous fashion, but there's also a lot of, background information that you put in there, and you've done your research and you've definitely done your homework to build, David's story and really bring it to life. How did you go about that? What was the process of research that you went through, and how did you go about pulling some of those some of those cultural pieces that aren't apparent or obvious in the scripture?
Well, from reading the scripture, and I use Master Study Bible, and I've just got a very inquisitive mind. When I see something and I thought, oh, that name was over here, and then I go into my uh, the studies on it, and I've looked things up on the internet also to
Mhm.
try to make sure that they are accurate.
Right.
And but I know other people read over those things, but so I thought, well, maybe that's a gift I have from God, is finding out things like that.
Right.
Just like David's third brother, it starts out as Shammah, but when you check into Chronicles, the third one is named Shimea. And um, Shammah means destruction. Can you imagine naming your child
Right.
destruction? And what happened that they called him destruction? Did they
Right.
think he was going to die? Was there a storm that day?
Right.
What was going on? But later his name is changed to Shimea, which means fame.
Hmm.
And who could have done that?
Right. It's interesting.
And what was his life like that somebody felt it was necessary to change his name?
Right. Right. That's good. That's good. Well, and again, it's a great account of David's life. So then, one of the things that I like about having the study guide material in there, or the study questions, is that it serves as a great book for a Bible study or a small group. Or was that kind of in your mind when you were writing that it was something that you wanted to, provide a tool for churches and pastors to use?
Yes, it is. That was something I really enjoyed myself, as being in study groups and Bible study groups, and I wanted this to be simple enough for somebody to study on their own if
Mhm.
they felt like it. But if you had a group of friends to sit down for, sorry, excuse me, for a Bible study group, I, I, I thought this would be an excellent thing for a Bible study group,
Yeah.
to quickly take a chapter every week and just kind of go over some of the thoughts there.
That's good. Yeah, and it's great. It's designed very well with for that. And again, I think the poems add a nice little touch, to go through and just add to the experience of the book. So, you'd mentioned, kind of, how David is, he's not really well accepted in his family, and he's kind of shunned, and all these kind of obstacles that he has to overcome. And for somebody who's reading this book and looking at David's life and identifying him with him, and maybe struggling through their own, you know maybe their own displacement, or maybe they feel outside of just, a group of friends or, a family member or whatever, what advice would you give them, or how would you maybe encourage them in their struggle of just feeling like they don't belong?
Well, like I said, it appeared that David wasn't really thought real highly of by his father and his oldest brother, but he'd looked at himself through God's eyes,
Mhm.
and I think that was something. Uh, and and when God spoke to Samuel and told him to go anoint the next king, he said, "I found somebody that's a man after my own heart,"
Mhm.
and that's what people should know, that it's God is our Father,
Right.
really, and He loves us um, more than we can ever imagine. That we need to accept that love
Right.
and not look so much at negative situations.
Right. Right. That's good. So now, when you bringing the book to life, you have the writing piece, you have your beta readers and your coach, and you had this idea, and you have these poems, you have all these pieces. um you decided, like I did, to go through Author Academy Elite to bring your book to life. Talk to us a little bit just about the journey of that. How did you find AAE, and what made you feel like that was the right direction to go, to bring your idea to reality?
Well, a friend of mine uh, said they had some free courses and sent me one to go over. And when he started going through problems, Carrie Oberbrunner, what problems he'd had when he was self-publishing, I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that.
Right. Right.
And I had written some of these stories, I mean, years ago. And I was 68 years old, and I'm a type 1 diabetic. And actually, the actuaries don't give me long to live. And I was like, how long am I going to let these stories roam around in my head?
Mm-hmm.
And I found out with AAE that they not only offer the coaching, but they've set down the program of what steps to take, just simple steps that can be taken weekly or
Right.
daily or monthly. And I needed that. I didn't know anything about publishing a book.
Right. Right. Yeah, me either. Yeah, and you're right. They do. They have a great, like, step by step. It's, in a lot of ways, it's almost foolproof navigating through the whole writing, and editing and publishing side of everything. And so yeah, so they have a great process. So then, from the time you decided to go with AAE to publishing, how long did that take?
I had my book out and published in less than a year.
Yeah, that's so.
And actually, I spent the first 3 months, I still was working through the negative names I was calling myself.
Mhm.
And actually, through another one of Carrie's programs, Your Secret Name,
Right.
I went through that and I found God's name for me. And that broke all the negative names, that broke all the fears. And from February to June, I finished writing it, and then there was the editing, and I had a book in my hands by October.
Wow. And we were a part of the largest book signing in the nation, correct? Last October at Barnes and Noble there in Ohio, right? You were there?
Yes,
Yep.
I had to bring my author copies. It was so new,
Yeah.
but I did make it.
Good. 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 So, as we're getting ready to wrap up, what's maybe just a little piece of advice you would give all the pastors and the ministry leaders that are listening in to the Ministry Hacker podcast? What's something you would give them, maybe to help them with just kind of guiding their congregation? Because we're in a difficult time. A lot of people are struggling in a lot of different ways, not only, financially, and, even spiritually, and with jobs and all those things, but even personally. A lot of people are struggling with themselves, struggling with who they are, and struggling with their identity and all those things. So what's a little bit of advice you would give to the pastors and ministry leaders that they can, take to those in their congregations?
Well, through my book, I got it broke down actually into like 3 different parts. The first part was self-image, where I'm dealing with things like I was just talking about, and how to overcome a poor self-image and problems
Mhm.
or solutions that happen. But then next I went into what is a heart after God. And I kind of contrasted David and Samuel and Saul. Uh, Samuel also had a heart after God,
Right.
but Saul started out good and then uh, became very proud was his problem. But I kind of show problems he had and how God dealt with them that way.
Right.
And then in the last part is in David dealing with people.
Hmm.
He started out only dealing with sheep,
Right.
but he learned from that, from his experiences there. And then he learned from being underneath Saul. And so he took things from daily life and God's guidance, and the more he followed God's guidance, the more God could do with him.
Right. That's so good. So good. Now you have a book launch coming up, correct? On October 10th. Is that right?
Yes, Saturday at
Yep.
7 o'clock Central. I plan on hosting it uh, from my author page, Mary Stegmiller, author,
On Facebook.
on Facebook.
Yep.
So if anybody would like some more ideas on what the book is like, that would be a great place,
Good deal.
because I'm going to have a special guest come on.
Really? Well, that's exciting. So they can do that on your Facebook author page, Mary Stegmiller, correct?
Yes,
Okay, good deal. And you said 7 o'clock Eastern or Central?
Central Time.
Okay. Wonderful. On the 10th. Well, Mary, thank you so much for writing the book. It's, for myself, I've read, the story of David several times, and this was a very enlightening book, as well as just a joy to see your stories and the poems added to it. And so I appreciate so much you coming on here and sharing with us. Thank you so, so much. For all of you out there, I would encourage you to check out Mary's launch party on October 10th at 7 o'clock on Facebook, her author page, Mary Stegmiller, as well as you can go to alivewiththebible.com and check out more about her as well as the book. And you can order the book on Amazon, Life Lessons with King David and Grandma. Again, thank you so much, Mary. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.